do a piece and you're never.
But
If you got it,
you got to follow the.
Thank you for coming tonight. It's a special night. We have 4 new board members that will be sworn in just a few minutes again. They've already been sworn in. So, the Board of Education meeting for Iredell-Statesville Schools is now open, and this is a committee of the whole meeting. So we're going to start with swearing in new board members. So now I think Mr. Kubiak, you wanted to get sworn in again? And Brian. Let's go ahead, and then Brian can follow you.
Okay.
I got a little, yeah, I wrote something out.
I, and state your name,
I, Michael Kubinek,
do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
and I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina,
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
to the constitutional powers and authorities
which are or may be established
which are or may be established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor to support,
and that I will endeavor to support,
maintain, and defend
maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge of and ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
I, repeat your name,
I, Michael Kubinek,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as a member of the Iredell-Statesville Board of Education,
as a member of the Iredell-Statesville Board of Education,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and abilities,
and according to law,
in accordance to law.
so help me God.
So help me God. Thank you, Judge.
Ms. Curran, go ahead.
I, state your name,
I, Anita Kern,
do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers and authority
and to the constitutional powers and authority
which are or may be established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor to support,
maintain, and defend
maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
so help me God.
So help me God. I, Anita Kern,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as a member of the Iredell-Statesville Board of Education,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
in accordance to law.
in accordance to law.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I, Brian Sloan,
do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
which are or may be established
for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor to support,
and I will endeavor to support,
maintain, and defend
the
Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of the state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
I, repeat your name,
I, Brian Sloan,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as a member of the Iredell-Statesville Board of Education
as a member of the Iredell-Statesville Board of Education
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
and according to law,
and according to law.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Got one more.
State your name, please.
I, Abby Trent,
Do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
which are or may be established
which are or may be established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor
and that I will endeavor
to support,
to support,
maintain, and defend
maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I state your name.
I, Abby Trent,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as a member of the Iredell-Statesville Board of Education
as a member of the Iredell-Statesville Board of Education
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
and according to law,
and according to law,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I'd like to thank Chief Magistrate Mr. Chambers for swearing our new board members in. At this time, I'd like for everyone to reflect. We have 4 new board members, a moment of silence so that we can continue on helping the children of this county. Thank you. Please stand, pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, that young lady. I'm glad you know the Pledge of Allegiance. Good job. Okay, Dr. James, are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
Chairman Howe, I have none at this time.
Okay, does any board member have additions or changes to the agenda? Okay, if not, the agenda stands. All right, we'll hear from Ms. Smith.
Okay, good evening, Dr. James and members of the board. My name is Jessica Smith. I'm a program director in the Student Services Department. This is Kelly Marcy. She's our executive director for Student Services. And really, we're just here tonight to share some good news with you and just do a little bit of a grant update on our last performance period. So I wanted to highlight some of our workers that the grants employ. We have 7 social workers paid between 3 different federal grants that we have. Collectively, they have received 2,417 referrals for support within 1 year. 2,276 student support contacts and 2,858 parent support contacts. They've also completed 519 home visits. So we're really proud of the work that they're doing with our students and families. I know that you have this, so I'm not going to read to you all the different programs and resources that they're providing, but basically the impact is helping to meet the basic needs of our kids. Child welfare and helping students to attend school because we're removing barriers for them to be there. The next area I wanted to highlight was our school-based therapy program. So through 2 of our federal grants, we have 8 school-based clinicians, and with parental consent, of course, they're able to provide therapy to students. During the reporting period, they provided that to 373 students, and they also provided 149 crisis assessments, which basically looks like if a student is in danger to themselves or others, we have a crisis worker that'll report out to the campus within 1 hour to assess that student and see what they need. Again, the impact of this large term is safer campuses and hopefully more kids able to attend school and them getting what they need. Finally, our behavior team, they received 177 new referrals for behavior support. They had 3,231 coaching and support meetings with schools and families. And again, the impact, what we're hoping long-term is safer campuses and kids able to attend school with less classroom disruptions. Any questions?
Any board member have a question?
Do we have a social worker at each campus?
Right now, yes, we're getting closer to that, but no.
But we're close. How close are we?
We have 10 social workers,
We have 10 social workers for the system,
yes,
okay, including these that are on this grant.
yes.
Okay, so they're spread over the entire system. And good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other board member have a question, comment?
I have a question. I mean, your numbers are a lot. I mean, I just, from my point of view, I think it would have been important really to see how much each person's doing, maybe like a referrals per team member or something like that. If maybe next time you present or something, if you want to, I think that would bolster your case on the quantity of work they would do, not just as a large aggregate number,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
We do have that.
Okay. If you want to send it on, you can.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, Ms. Smith, your sentence in the first of your letter talks about an annual performance report to the government. Could we get a copy of that, please? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have a question.
Sure.
It says that you've committed to connecting students and their families to resources. How exactly do you connect them to these resources?
A lot of different ways. So particularly with our social workers, since a lot of their work is focused on resource connection, it's based on needs. So whatever the family needs, our team can get very creative. So anything from a lice kit or a family that has, it's not pretty to talk about, but we've had some families with really significant bug infestations, kids that are needing coats or food or those really basic needs. We find a way to get the needs met.
So is there a way to get any information if somebody wanted to donate some items to your cause?
Yeah.
We actually have Kelly Harris back here, who is doing a really big drive in the community to get a list of needs that our social workers have identified at all of our schools. That even comes down to hair care kits and things that they really need. And Kelly is hitting up big box stores and all sorts of folks, and we're going to have an event to share that out. So I would suggest linking up with Kelly.
Okay, so anyone in the audience who would like to help with that, reach out to Kelly Harris. Thank you.
Any other board member?
I would like to say it seems like we owe Kelly a thank you for that, for helping on that, and thank you, Ms. Kelly.
Any other board member? I do have one question, and, you know, I'm always an agitator. How much help do our students get from Iredell County DSS?
So in terms of for social work?
Yes.
Okay, so when Department of Social Services gets involved, it's because somebody in the community or one of us has made a referral for abuse or neglect. So in terms of everyday needs that some of our more impoverished families and kids have and that kind of stuff, that's really a need that we take on in the school system to find needs, to find resources in the community. They really deal with just kind of one subset of a child's life and need, and I feel like maybe us at the school system have a broader assessment in terms of what a family needs, and so it'd be hard for me to put that into a percentage, but it's really just this much of a family's need or life, I would say. Very important. They provide a very, very important service, and we work certainly hand in hand, but I think in terms of some of the basic needs of families, we really rely on the community and the support of our teachers and families and things like that to assist.
So I know when I was a teacher that if we had suspicion of abuse or a child reported to us that one of their parents beat them, that we were obligated to call DSS at that time. And I don't think we had any social workers in the system at that time. And, you know, I don't know how many social workers they have, but I'd like to see them get more involved with our students because we're having to pay a lot. Not that it's not needed, but we're having to pay a lot for something that I think that could be part of their responsibility as well.
Yeah, I think, and I can't remember when you were in the school system last, but prior to the grants, we had 3 school social workers for 21,000 students about. And if you can imagine the way we had to divvy up resources for 3 social workers to 21,000 students, it's abysmal. I mean, we really had to just focus on attendance. And you know that when you just focus on attendance, that you miss a lot of other needs that families have. I think that we'd like to see DSS provide a broader base of assistance, but at the same time, I'd hate for them to take away the really, really important job of dealing with their specialty of abuse and neglect. So I think it's definitely a really important partnership. And it'd be interesting to see what would happen if they were to increase their resources. I've never seen it happen, and I know that 3 social workers for a school system is pretty much unheard of in a school system our size. So, it's
Thank you a
all
lot.
around.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Okay, Miss Elliott. Yeah.
Good evening, Dr. James and School Board. I love how you giggled when you called my name because you know why I'm here. It's December, right?
You catch it, but it's not your fault.
So tonight, I am bringing to you guys the 2023-24 school calendar. And we are bringing two options. We have one, we'll start with the traditional schools. We took two options. We have what we're calling the option early start, where we'll start on August the 14th and end on May the 24th. And then we have the option that follows the legislator's calendar law, which would have us beginning on August the 28th and ending on June the 7th. And so in the packet that I provided, I put both calendars side by side so you can kind of see what the difference is. Both calendars have 175 student days, and when you calculate that out, we're still meeting the required 1,025 hours. We actually have an extra 9 days if we get a bunch of snow in in January, February, which, when that happens. So this year, we put a survey out to our community, our teachers, our students, and our parents. And we received 4,868 responses. I think that's the most I've ever gotten back on a calendar survey. Overwhelmingly, they want the early start. Just because, we're ending the semester in December, we start fresh in January. We have students that, every year we have anywhere from 10 to 20 students that they start college in January. So we're, if they're having exams, they're still having to take their exams in December, they're having to finish that class early. And everybody likes getting out, at Memorial Day. It kind of, starts their summer. Jay, if you can go to that next page. This is what the survey brought back. So, question was, we wanted to know, who are you? So we had parents, we had employees, we had students, and then we had others. Question 2, we wanted to know if your children attend school, what grade level? And overwhelmingly, you can see, it's about even there with elementary, high, and then we had middle. Question 3, how do you feel about ending the semester before the winter break? 89% said yes. And then question 4 is, which one do you support? 77.6 for the early one, 22 for the law. So we know that our stakeholders, they want to start early. But we also know that the legislators have a calendar law out there. We had a huge discussion last year about not wanting to break the law. But I wanted to let you know that this school year alone, we had Mooresville graded, Cleveland, Gaston, Jackson, Haywood, and Swain. They all started prior to August 29th. This year, already on the calendar for next school year and published and voted on, Cabarrus and Mooresville are starting prior to the August 28th. Our stakeholders want to know, if other counties can do it, why can't we? I'm bringing you the data. I'm bringing you the two calendars, and it'll be your decision. Are there any questions about the two calendars?
Board members, any questions, comments?
Jump on it, Doug. Well, there's a lot of people know I've been a proponent of the early calendar forever. And what you've just mentioned, you're talking about the counties that are just around us. If I'm not mistaken, there were like 14 or 16 during the last calendar year, the last academic year, that started early. To this date, as far as we know, nobody has really been smacked against the wall. Nobody has been brought to judgment. Nothing has been done except one letter that was written to us, which caused us to do something different. Now, at that time, then I think my question is, can we not check to see just exactly how many are doing this? And whether or not we shouldn't also do this? This right here shows us where our people are. This group up here is in favor, I think, of that. Administrators are in favor of it, students are in favor of it, and you can list the educational reasons for doing it. The bigger reason not to do it is the law, which says that you can't do it. And we don't really want to break the law, but at the same time, this is really foolish. The word is that there is a man that stands in the way of it, and there are 18 groups that have already gone over that. Why don't we do the same thing?
Right, so what I did was I put out an email to my other, coordinators in the state. And those that responded back were the ones that I have listed here. I know there were probably others. I mean, I could probably go to their website and look at all 115 school calendars. Those are the ones that answered me back. Of course, I had a lot of charter schools that answered me back, but, they have flexibility of when they can start. So we are just held to this legislator law. And I'm not even sure, sometimes, they've got some flexibility on the table, but I've not even heard if that's out there yet. It may be too early. And, and you're probably wondering, why are you bringing the calendar in December? Can we wait? So part of my job is student information. And so once we get our calendar approved, then we can start the process of rolling over the year and starting our high schools with scheduling. And they like to get started on 1st of February. So, and it takes me about, 3 to 4 weeks to get everything ready to roll over so that we can get ready to schedule. So that's why I always bring the calendar in December, hoping for a vote, and leaving it up to you guys. So.
Dr. Knight.
See, I have trouble with this because, if we do the early schedule, we're breaking the law, and we just had 4 oaths given to uphold the Constitution. And if we don't uphold the Constitution, if we do the early schedule, we're not, you can make an argument, a fairly easy argument, that we're not upholding it. So I've been thinking about this a lot, and it's sad, I guess, that I'm thinking so much about this. But, when do you break a law? And basically, from what I can come into, if it's immoral or there's no, as Charles would say, no judgment if you do it. And, is it immoral that there is this law? I don't know if a calendar law is moral or not. If you look at some of the reasons because of it, tourism, eastern part of the state, supposedly the reason it was passed in the legislature and stuff like that, we've heard those things. Yeah, I don't like that. The reasonings behind it and the reasons it can't even get, I don't think it can come up for a vote. They won't allow it.
There was a bill that they squashed.
They squashed several that's been squashed rather than giving them a chance to come up for a vote. From an enforcement point of view, now we all break the law there, of course, right? It's 65 miles an hour on the interstate. Who drives 65? And have I ever been pulled over for 66 or 67? No. So, that's kind of where I am. I do agree the parents want it. I think the teachers want it. I think more than anything else is best for the kids academically. You don't need a break and then try to test them. It's just, you forget. I mean, it's just the nature of it. I'm leaning to the early schedule, but I'm not there yet. I have just a big issue knowing that I've took an oath to uphold the law, and I'm not. So it's got to raise to that level, and I don't know.
And I think the sad part is that our legislators won't even listen. And they're not down here at the school level hearing what our parents and our kids want or need. And I have to tell you, if somebody wants to go on vacation for a week, guess what? They don't care.
They're going to do it. We know that.
We've got them gone right now. They go. So, when that law, came about, it was from the eastern part of the state and thought that we were going to be taking away their workers and, but we know that,
Yeah, I'm not fussing at you. Please
Oh, I
don't
know.
think I am. It's just that,
I'm just here to present 2 options.
or I'm trying to squash the messenger either. But yeah, the issue is, I think, just for me personally, I think it's educationally it's best for the students. And that's the other thing we say we'll do. We're going to do what's best for the students as members of the school board. So how do we balance both when they're on 2 different sides?
Yeah, and I did read an article, and I believe it's from Gaston County, that when they started they did exactly what I did. They put a survey out to their parents and their students and community, and they did what was best for their kids. And that's, I mean, they started early this year.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Chadley.
Mr. Chairman, especially for all the new board members, it might be helpful for you to understand what the law is.
If
we
you'll go
keep-
to
yeah.
there it is.
So you'll see that first bullet, what state law says, and this change was added sometime in the mid to late 2000s, I believe. It says that the start of school may not occur no earlier than the Monday closest to August 26th. That this upcoming year will be August 28th. Last year, or this school year, it was August 29th. So these have actually been two of the latest starts. This year and next year will be two of the latest starts under that, because sometimes it'll fall before the 26th. Now, there is an exception to that. There's two exceptions. One exception is if you're a year-round school. And the other exception is if you get what would be called a weather waiver. You've had so many snow days, and they take an average over the last several years. Two of the boards actually on the list and earlier in the presentation have weather waivers, so they're starting legally earlier. They get to start 1 week earlier, but it's because they've got a lot of snows, the two mountain districts. But ultimately, those are the only exceptions, other than some small exceptions for like early colleges who have to combine their calendar with the community college because they're on the campus. But that's the law. And the other requirements, you'll see, other than the start date, there are a lot of other additional requirements that these good folks have to comply with in order to put together a draft calendar.
Dr. Knight.
Just one more thing. It's interesting here. It does say if someone sees it, minimum 185 days or 1,025 hours. We do this, the calendar is proposed doing this at 175 days, correct? And, you could theoretically do 1,025 hours within and start late and finish early, but the length of the day would be so long, it would be prohibitive from educationally and from just parents picking up kids.
Yeah, actually, with 175 days, that gives me 9 days. I could, but there's no way that starting on August the 28th, I can knock off 9 days and we still end prior to Christmas.
Unless you
Then
added.
you'd have to work, well, you'd have to, but we've already extended our school day.
Exactly.
We did that, oh gosh, I don't even know how many years ago that was.
So, yeah, I see that as a non-starter.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I would be worried to take away those 9 days just in case we have snow days.
Well, I don't have any problem with you bringing this in December because it's taken those months for us to look at it because of all the things that have already been said. We have a group that looks at this and says, I don't understand why you don't do what is educationally sound. Well, there's a law that says you can't, and this law was recently passed because of the Iredell-Statesville school system. Okay, we know that too. When that was put into place when we did the calendar, which started earlier, got our hands smacked, and backed up. But since then, it's been happening all over the state. So I would continue to ask. I don't understand why we don't do that. And if we have a way to find out, but I will tell you, and Dr. James was there, we met with our legislators not too long ago. They were wanting to know what are some of the primary things that you'd like to discuss with your legislators. The first thing we said was the calendar. When we said, as a group, there were 3 of us there, when we said the calendar, their faces went completely blank, and 2 of them turned away. I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do about that. That's a moot point. We need to move to number 2. That's how the legislature is at this time, but the legislature, our understanding is, based on one man. I really resent that, but that's the word that we get, and I still have all those reasons why we should start early. All of them are still there. Educationally, like Dr. Knight said, educationally, for our students, it's the very best thing to do.
Ms. Curran.
Ms. Elliott, I'd like to ask, if in the event that we possibly voted for the early calendar, and we could maybe put in a resolution to the legislature, how much work would it be if they came back and slapped our hand, how much trouble would it be to change the calendar back?
I mean, we can change it. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, we had to change in April. That's when, yes, we had to change it in April because the state came out and allowed us 5 extra days. We could start 5 days early because of the remote, was it 2021 school year? That was it. So it can be done. It's not pretty.
Yeah, that was done several years ago, that is true.
That was
We
done
did
in
that, but in so doing, we did what we really don't want to do, which is set the calendar, change it, set the calendar, change it. And that happened 3 times, and you really don't want to do that. So we need to have all our ducks in the same row when we say, this is the calendar we're going to have. And that's what we're trying to do at this point. That's the reason I'm glad we're starting in December. It'll take that long.
Mr. Shatley, do we have any precedent of any times that the legislature has come back recently with calendars starting early?
So I'm going to refer to something that kind of, I think Mr. Kelly was referring to earlier. A few years ago, prior to the pandemic, I believe this board made a decision to start a little earlier. And about 15 or 16 districts across the state did the same thing. And the way that the districts were doing that, they were calling it an innovative year-round calendar. Remember, I told you one of the exceptions is for a year-round school. I'm not exactly sure what it was called here, but a lot of districts were innovative year-round calendar. What we called it. And then later that year, after it was that year started, and you guys started a couple weeks earlier, is when the pandemic hit. And so then when they were making a lot of these changes to kind of cope with the pandemic, like the one Ms. Kelly indicated where they gave us a little bit of leeway for the last school year to start earlier for missed days, they put a definition of year-round school. Year-round school was not defined in the law. And so it's kind of this just general definition that school districts said, well, if your school calendar touches 11 or 12 months out of the year, we're going to define that as a year-round calendar because it wasn't defined in the law. So it left it up to school boards to define year-round calendar. Well, the General Assembly came back and said, no, we're going to define it for you. And the manner in which it's now defined is very much kind of the manner in which your traditional year-round schools go. I think MB Mills, you 9 weeks on, 3 weeks off, 9 weeks on, and one of those 3 weeks is kind of a remediation week, so students may still come. And so they've defined it very discreetly. That has technically been the only thing the General Assembly has done. Now, a couple years ago too, or I think about last year, school districts were being advised by the Department of Public Instruction that they could not adopt their school calendar. Previously, we're required to report our calendar to DPI, but DPI doesn't have any say over our calendar. That's completely within your discretion, within all those bullet points up there. But when boards who were trying to start early last year, because there were several that tried that are not on that list, and then DPI came back and said, you cannot do that. So there's the potential of that. Now, I don't know anybody who DPI said you can't do it, and then they went ahead and did it, and I don't believe DPI did anything. I don't believe there's ever been any punishment from the General Assembly. From my understanding, most legislators are in favor of changing the school calendar law to give more flexibility to local school boards. So I don't know if the General Assembly will if more districts flout the law, if the General Assembly will attempt to try to put some sort of teeth or punishment inside the statute, but currently there is none. Now, I will say that parents may also enforce the law through a lawsuit. It only takes one parent that says, we're impacted by this and this doesn't follow the law, we're going to sue to make you do the right thing. Not the right thing, to do what the law says. So there is that possibility as well.
We also might mention, we also know that in case people differentiate, we have no problem with the House. It's in the Senate. It passes the House. Anytime it comes through the House is fine. This is in Raleigh, not Washington, but Raleigh. The House says fine, they agree. It's the Senate that stops it every time. At the same time, our senator is in favor of it, but she can't get by the one man who is in the Senate who stops it. So there we are.
Any other board member?
Yeah, Mr. Shatley, other than what Dr. Knight brought up, the moral dilemma of voting to violate the law after we just took an oath to follow the law, what in the realm of negative repercussions could come upon the school district and the school board members who were to vote for the early calendar?
So the General Assembly would have to enact something for the law to have any teeth. So they would have to amend the calendar law to add some sort of potential either financial penalty. The most recent financial penalty that the General Assembly enacted into law was the school class size. That at some point in time, and probably the next semester, Dr. James will talk to you about the school class size law. But the superintendent is required to attest on an annual basis to meeting the school class size law. And if the district is not able to meet that law, the state will withhold the superintendent's salary or the state portion of those funds. But it still requires the board to pay a salary. You just have to use local funds that you get from the county commissioners. That's the penalty that's in the law. That's the only reason why I mentioned that. I'm not saying they're going to come after Dr. James's salary or any other superintendent's salary. That's just the one penalty that they have ultimately put in a law that's kind of like this in recent times. Again, any person impacted in the community, specifically any parent, could bring a declaratory judgment action, a lawsuit against the board to enforce the calendar law. And although I strongly believe there are a lot of good practical reasons to start earlier, the law is relatively clear. If you're catching what I'm saying there, I don't think we'd be very successful in that type of lawsuit. And so that lawsuit, ultimately, what happens if that lawsuit's filed in July and ruled on the first week of August? You get kind of put into a difficult situation at that point.
But none of these 8 school districts has faced any penalty to date.
Not those, although I will say, again, 2 or 3 of those are from the mountains. They're allowed to start a little earlier because they got the winter waiver. I am not.
Gaston, Cleveland, and Mooresville are not.
Yeah, they are not.
I mean,
It's the other
and
3.
Gaston and Cleveland,
If you let me finish.
right over here.
There's no, I'm not aware of anybody doing anything to any of those districts.
Anyone else? Okay, I will say they could say we're not going to pay for the superintendent, which means that the taxpayers of Iredell County would have to do that. And this is going to be your first tough decision as new board members, because I'm going to ask for a vote next week, and I think we owe it to our parents so that they will know what the school calendar is. I want you to compare the early college calendar, which we have no control over, to our calendar. And think about if I was a parent that had a child in early college, and I also have a child in elementary school, and they're not going to be in school many days together. And there's a lot, but if you look at vacations and start times and whatnot, I want you to think about those things. Because, like I say, next week I'm going to ask you to vote, and how the majority will decide what calendar we accept. So, anybody else?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
if you do ask for that vote, I may ask to postpone that vote a month if I do still have issues, but that will be up to the board, to the majority, to decide to postpone it if,
Yes, sir.
if they so wish.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? All right, thank you very much.
So good to see you.
All right, Dr. Berry, personnel report.
Good evening, Chairman Howell and members of the board, Dr. James. I presented the personnel report in closed session and would be glad to answer any additional questions you may have.
I'd like to, if no one has a question for Dr. Berry, we go ahead and put that on the consent agenda just like we usually do. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Berry. Okay, it's your turn. Now, new board members, if you have comments or things you would like to say, it's your time. So if anyone, any board member has comments they would like to say, it's your time.
This has been a new process for me, and throughout the whole process, I never asked for a vote, but what I've always asked for is prayer. And myself mostly need your prayers. I appreciate it.
Anyone else?
I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to serve you in the Board of Education. I hope that I make the decisions that you would make up here. Be in prayer, just as Brian said, we definitely need it. Pray for our children and our teachers and the administrative staff. They need your prayers as well. And just thank you for the opportunity. It's an honor.
And I'd like to thank the voters of South Iredell, District 5, who found that my life experiences, qualifications, plans, skill sets were appropriate to serve on this board. And I'd also like to let the community know what this board, what these new members have brought to this board. Some people have called certain candidates extreme. Some people have gone to the media stating how important it was to elect certain people for gender diversity reasons. So I would say this board is extremely diversified. So let me just point out a few things of how diversified this new school board is. We have now two women and two men on this board with a variety of age differences that were elected. We have two with school-age children currently attending Iredell-Statesville schools. Members of this board have had children go through public schools, private schools, religious schools, and have homeschooling experience. We have a small business owner on this board. We have a financial analyst on this board. We have a member with financial planning experience. Two new military veterans have come onto this board for a total now of 3. Right, Bill?
Yes.
One military member has served in several executive level leadership positions. This board now has a new former elementary school teacher. So that means we have 2 college level professors, 1 high school professor, and 1 elementary school teacher on this board. We have a school athletics coach on this board. We have people that have served in high technology business, engineering, manufacturing, business operations, and hiring manager experience. 2 members of this board were born and raised, of the 4 that were born and raised in Iredell County, and 2 others have lived in many other places across this country. And if my records are correct, the whole 7 members on this board hold 7 postgraduate degrees, including master's levels and PhDs. So I would argue that this board is one of the most diversified boards from a skill set point of view that has been around in a long, long, long time. So I'm honored to be your school board member from District 5, but now we all transition to being school board members for all the district, for all your students, all the families, all the parents. So I'm privileged and honored to serve as your school board member. Thank you.
Dr. Knight.
I just want to say, I'm not the newbie anymore, so that makes me happy in many ways. But I look forward to serving with the new members. I look forward to serving with the older, or members that were here previous before me.
Okay. Well stated.
but I look forward to it. I think we're all trying to do what's best for the kids and best for the employees. You know, start at the students, work your way up to teachers, and, you know, the superintendent should be last, right, Dr. James? And I think by doing that, not that I mean that, you know, in a joking manner, but seriously, I think that's where we go, because that's what we're focused on. And so I look forward to that, and I really hope we have a good 2 years, and I'm praying for no viruses of any sort going forward.
Any other board members? Okay.
I secretly commend you, Bill, for putting us in this order, because after Ms. Kubiak, this is really good. He was stating what the members on the board are. Let me go through a little bit about what you have gotten yourself into. Okay? This is a great school board, and this is a great school district. And you have become a member of one of the, if not the best, school districts. If it's not the best, it's one of the best in the state of North Carolina. To come down personally and not to blow up their heads, we probably have the best, one of the best superintendents in the state of North Carolina. We think that's the case. We probably have one of the best, if not the best, school attorneys in the state of North Carolina. And we don't want to blow up their heads too much, but they are really very good. I will say probably with them, because then I will say we do have, I think, the best administrative staff that any school district in the state of North Carolina could put together. We have a really talented staff of people to support the school board and the superintendent. It is really a great bunch of people. We have over 2,000 professionals in this county that are working together with the school board with one purpose in mind, which is the success of our kids. And we all work toward that goal. The board that just went off, they worked toward that goal. All the boards that I've been on have worked toward that goal, and I think this new board will work toward the same goal. We're looking for the success of every single student in Iredell County. If the student is in the Iredell-Statesville school system and they don't get an education, it's their fault, because that system is working for them night and day. This system is, if you put it on the category of the cup, we're not a cup that's half empty and leaking. We're a cup that's half full and rising. So we are feeling good about ourselves. I think we've got a good board to go forward with, and we look forward to working in a group for that one goal, which is the success of our students. Thank you.
Ms. Trent?
I just wanted to say that I'm looking forward to working with the other members of this board, putting the children of Iredell County first, also working with principals and teachers and listening to their needs and ideas. I believe it's very important for this board to be open-minded and listen to all perspectives. At the end of the day, we 7 will have to make decisions based on the options we are given. I promise to work hard for the parents and the children in District 3. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, let me say this. Thank you for making me your chairman. It's a great honor and a great responsibility, and I don't take it lightly. I will say that we are one of the systems in the state of North Carolina that are building schools. A lot of systems are not building schools. We're building schools because we have to. There are more children. And so we continue to do that. Now, we also have a county government that we're one of the lowest taxed counties in North Carolina. But yet we're able to give services to the children of this county more so than many systems who have a greater tax base than we do. In fact, I'll just tell you, we give more things to our students than Charlotte Meck does, and they got all the money in the world. So think about that. This board has a tremendous job before us. Not only do we have to build schools, but we have to maintain the ones we have. We have to find teachers. And we're still looking for teachers, just like everybody else in the world. And until our state government doesn't help us, and it's not about money as much as it is some of the things they have taken away, some of the benefits. But anyway, I'm not going to go on my soapbox. So, it's up to you, Dr. James.
Well, of course, I'm your legs, arms, hands, and feet, so the board decides and I deploy. So all I need from you is a clear direction that you're wanting to go each month, so I can make sure that the team and I try our best to accomplish that. And I think all of us have had some conversations at one point, but at the end of the day, it's what's best for kids, and I think that's why you're sitting up here, or you wouldn't be here. I think you're very passionate, all of you, that we want to make sure that we have the best system. Academically, this system has hit some home runs during the time that others couldn't. Are there issues every single day? We have 2,700 employees, and I sort of joked around, but I do appreciate one of the board members saying praying for you today. It means a whole lot, and I think I said I'm praying for you too. So it goes a long way, because it'd be every morning I come in and open up about 100 emails, and Tom, unfortunately, they all don't say, have a wonderful day, you're doing such a great job, keep it up. It's my child didn't get this at this school, or my child didn't this, so it's a little difficult. And the board members will learn about 50% of the people are going to like what you do, and 50% aren't. So it doesn't matter if it's a weather call, 50% are going to say, done a great job. The other 50% you're going to say, what were you thinking? So we do try to put data like pictures of iced roads, etc. But I will say that we've done a lot for our employees. If just sitting in a state meeting Friday with the state superintendent, wage compression is something I know Kelly's heard, and we've talked to our TAs and bus drivers. If we can get our state to work on wage compression, when we raised the minimum to $15 an hour, we just about folded up our pay scale. There's very little difference between minimum and maximum. The numbers that I got Friday, if the state legislature will enact it, will be wonderful for our employees. It'll help our classified people even more. We still have to work on teacher pay, folks. There's a new teacher model out there. If you haven't already heard, it's been all over the news. I've been asked to comment on it. It's a licensure model. It turned into a compensation model. I think it's pay for performance model is what it's more so turned into. But at $37,000, $38,000 for a starting teacher, we're not going to attract people into the field. So we've got to really battle that. Across the state of North Carolina, there's over 3,900 teaching positions open in the state as a whole. So that is not good for our children. It's not good for economic development. And one of the reasons we are blessed in this county with economic development, I meet with them almost every month, the business leaders, chamber, economic development individuals, and we go into industry. Parts of our team do almost every day. And we're growing by leaps and bounds as far as corporations are concerned, but they're expecting us to continue to put out qualified workers so they can go to work. So not everybody goes to four-year college. There's a lot of well-paying jobs out there without a four-year degree. And I think we're just now finding that out. So we're advocating for that. Talked to several politicians in the last few days about doing what we can to make sure more people or more students are able to go into trade and technical fields. So a lot of work to do. So look forward to working with the new board and carrying out what your vision and mission is. So thank you and welcome aboard. And strap in, it's going to be a wild ride. So if you ever rode Mr. Toad's Wild Ride at Disney, that's what I equate it to. You better hold on. So it's sometimes it's really great to see the things you've done, and sometimes, like Brian said, you need prayer. So thank you, guys.
Okay, I'd like to congratulate the new board members again. You got a little dose of things tonight, and you will see sometimes it gets worse. So, anyway, do I have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. All right, we're adjourned.
All in favor?
I don't do that.